October 29, 2018. The skies over Indonesia, clear and calm. But inside the cockpit of Lion Air Flight 610, a desperate battle was unfolding. Just minutes after takeoff from Jakarta, pilots Baby Sunija and Harvino encountered a bewildering malfunction. Their brand-new Boeing 737 MAX 8, a marvel of modern aviation, was relentlessly pushing its nose down, defying their every command. For 11 agonizing minutes, they wrestled with the controls, a struggle against an invisible force that seemed determined to drag their plane into the Java Sea. This was not a system failure, it was a pre-programmed defiance, a fatal flaw waiting to be triggered. The wreckage, scattered across the shallow waters, told a grim tale of an aircraft breaking apart on impact. Search and rescue teams worked tirelessly, but hope quickly faded. All 189 passengers and crew aboard Lion Air Flight 610 perished that day. It was a tragedy that stunned the world, yet initially, it was largely seen as an isolated incident, perhaps a maintenance error or pilot misjudgment. No one yet suspected that this was just the first warning, a chilling prelude to a far greater crisis that would expose a profound, systemic failing at the heart of one of aviation's most revered companies. To understand the tragedy, we must first understand the aircraft, the Boeing 737 MAX 8. Launched in 2017, it was Boeing's answer to its fierce European rival, Airbus, and their successful A320neo. The MAX promised greater fuel efficiency, longer range, and a modernized flying experience. It was envisioned as a cornerstone of Boeing's future, a testament to American engineering ingenuity. Airlines eagerly placed orders, captivated by the promise of reduced operating costs and enhanced performance. For Boeing, it was a race against the clock, and the MAX represented their critical competitive edge in a rapidly evolving global market. The 737 MAX wasn't a completely new design, it was an evolution of Boeing's iconic 737, an aircraft that had served for decades. But to achieve the promised fuel efficiency, Boeing needed larger, more powerful engines. These new engines, specifically the CFM LEAP 1B, were too big to fit under the wing in the traditional position. Engineers moved them further forward and higher. This seemingly minor adjustment had a profound impact. It subtly altered the aircraft's aerodynamics, creating a tendency for the nose to pitch up under certain conditions. This instability demanded a software solution, leading to the creation of MCAS. MCAS, or Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, was the software designed to counteract the MAX's new aerodynamic characteristics. Its purpose was seemingly benign, to automatically push the aircraft's nose down if it detected a high angle of attack, the angle between the wing and the oncoming air, thereby preventing an aerodynamic stall. It was meant to make the 737 MAX handle like its predecessors, avoiding costly and time-consuming recertification for pilots. But the seemingly simple fix harbored a catastrophic vulnerability, centered around a critical design choice and a single point of failure. Crucially, pilots flying the 737 MAX were largely unaware of MCAS. Boeing intentionally minimized information about the system, omitting it from pilot manuals and training programs. The rationale was that MCAS would operate entirely in the background, only activating in rare, extreme flight conditions, and therefore required no specific pilot intervention or knowledge. This decision, driven by the desire to avoid extensive and expensive retraining, would prove to be one of the most devastating misjudgments in aviation history, directly contributing to the inability of pilots to react when the system went rogue. The catastrophic vulnerability lay in MCAS's reliance on a single angle of attack (AOA) sensor. If this lone sensor malfunctioned and sent erroneous data, MCAS would incorrectly believe the aircraft was about to stall. In response, it would repeatedly command the plane's nose down, even if the pilots were actively trying to pull it up. With no redundant sensor to verify the data, and pilots unaware of MCAS's existence or how to override it, the crew faced an impossible fight against their own aircraft. It was this precise scenario that unfolded on Lion Air Flight 610. A single point of failure. This fundamental design choice, allowing a critical safety system to rely on just one sensor without cross-checking, was a glaring red flag for aviation experts. In modern aircraft, redundancy is paramount. Multiple sensors and systems are employed to ensure no single component failure can lead to catastrophic consequences. Yet, for the 737 MAX, Boeing, under immense pressure to deliver, overlooked this basic principle. This decision didn't just cut corners, it built a trap into the very core of the aircraft, a trap that claimed 189 lives in Indonesia. Just 3 weeks later, the aviation world was still reeling from the Lion Air disaster, but the focus was slowly shifting to maintenance procedures and training in Indonesia. Yet, a far more chilling reality was about to unfold. On March 10, 2019, less than 5 months after the first crash, another Boeing 737 MAX 8 took to the skies, this time from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, a brand new plane delivered just 4 months prior, was carrying 157 people towards Nairobi. The tragic similarities to Lion Air Flight 610 would soon become terrifyingly clear. The flight lasted only 6 minutes. Immediately after takeoff, pilots Yared Getachew and Ahmed Nur Mohammed experienced issues similar to their Lion Air counterparts. Black box data later revealed an AOA sensor malfunction, triggering MCOS to repeatedly push the nose down. Despite their desperate struggle, the pilots were unable to regain control. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 crashed into a field southeast of Addis Ababa, killing all 157 passengers and crew. Among the dead were victims from 35 nations, including aid workers, academics, and tourists, making it a truly global tragedy. The second crash, so soon after the first, and with such eerily similar circumstances, ignited global alarm. Nations around the world, from China to the European Union, began to ground the 737 MAX fleet. The FAA, initially hesitant, facing immense international pressure and mounting evidence, finally issued an emergency order grounding all Boeing 737 MAX aircraft in U.S. airspace. This unprecedented global grounding, encompassing nearly 400 aircraft, was a stark testament to the severity of the crisis and a shattering blow to Boeing's reputation and financial standing. With both black boxes recovered and their data analyzed, investigators unequivocally confirmed the MCOS system as the central culprit. The flight profiles of both Lion Air 610 and Ethiopian 302 showed identical, uncontrolled nose-down commands, triggered by faulty AOA sensor readings. The evidence was irrefutable. A design flaw, a hidden system, and a lack of pilot awareness had conspired to bring down 2 state-of-the-art airliners. The world demanded answers, not just about the technical fault, but about how such a critical vulnerability could have been approved in the first place. The finger-pointing soon extended beyond a single system to the very culture of Boeing itself. Many critics and former employees pointed to the company's 1997 merger with McDonnell Douglas as a turning point. Boeing, once a company led by engineers prioritizing safety and innovation, had increasingly become driven by financial metrics, shareholder value, and speed to market. This cultural shift, they argued, led to corners being cut, warnings being downplayed, and a fundamental erosion of the engineering-first ethos that had long been its hallmark. The MAX crisis was a symptom of a deeper malaise. Adding to the scrutiny was the revelation of the FAA's role in the certification process. Due to budget constraints and a long-standing practice, the FAA had delegated significant portions of its safety certification work to Boeing employees themselves. Whistleblowers later emerged, alleging undue pressure to speed up the certification process for the MAX and concerns about oversight. This self-certification model, where the manufacturer essentially policed itself, raised serious questions about the integrity of the regulatory system meant to safeguard public trust in air travel. The race to market was relentless. Boeing was desperate to counter Airbus's success with the A320neo without designing an entirely new aircraft, a process that would take years and billions. The decision to adapt the 737, rather than start fresh, put immense pressure on engineers to make the new engines work with an old airframe. This commercial imperative, critics argue, overshadowed safety considerations, leading to the acceptance of the MCOS system with its dangerous single-sensor design. In the rush to deliver, the foundational principle of safety first was compromised. After the global grounding, Boeing embarked on a comprehensive overhaul of the MCOS software. The updated system now uses inputs from both angle of attack sensors, comparing them to ensure consistency. If there's a discrepancy, MCOS is deactivated, and pilots receive an alert. Additionally, the system now activates only once per high AOA event and cannot repeatedly push the nose down. This critical software update, coupled with extensive new pilot training on MCOS and its potential override procedures, aimed to eliminate the fatal flaw that cost 346 lives. It was a step towards restoring confidence, but the damage was profound. After nearly 2 years of intensive review, software redesigns, and new pilot training protocols, regulatory bodies around the world gradually began to clear the 737 MAX for flight. Brazil's ANAC was among the first in late 2020, followed by the FAA and then the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, EASA. Each authority conducted its own rigorous safety assessments, requiring specific enhancements and pilot training. The return to service was a slow, cautious process, but it marked a critical milestone in Boeing's efforts to regain trust and the MAX's journey back to the skies, albeit under intense scrutiny. While the aircraft returned to service, the human cost remains indelible. The families of the 346 victims continue their fight for justice and accountability. Their grief is profound, their voices powerful. They argue that the crashes were not merely technical failures but preventable tragedies rooted in corporate negligence and regulatory oversight. Their tireless advocacy has kept the spotlight on Boeing, demanding a fundamental shift in its priorities and a commitment that such a catastrophe will never be allowed to happen again. For them, the story of the 737 MAX is far from over. Beyond the MCOS fix, deeper questions persist about Boeing's corporate culture and the future of aviation regulation. Has the company truly transformed its safety ethos? Are regulators sufficiently independent and empowered to prevent future failures? The 737 MAX saga serves as a sobering reminder of the delicate balance between commercial pressures and public safety. It highlights the critical need for robust oversight, transparency, and a culture where safety is genuinely paramount, not just a slogan. The path forward for Boeing, and the industry, is paved with these challenging reflections. Today, the 737 MAX flies again, carrying millions of passengers safely across the globe. Yet, a shadow lingers. For many, the aircraft remains a symbol of corporate hubris, technological shortcuts, and the tragic consequences of prioritizing profit over people. Public trust, once absolute in Boeing, has been irrevocably shaken. Rebuilding that trust requires more than just software updates. It demands a cultural recalibration, a commitment to engineering integrity that once defined the company, and unwavering transparency. The scars of the 737 MAX crisis serve as a permanent caution. The aviation industry, regulators, and manufacturers must continually grapple with the lessons learned from the 737 MAX. This tragedy underscores the perpetual need for vigilant oversight, independent analysis, and robust safety protocols. While the immediate technical flaws have been addressed, the fundamental questions about corporate accountability and the balance between innovation and safety remain. The memory of Lion Air Flight 610 and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, and the 346 lives lost, must serve as a constant reminder that in aviation, there is no compromise on safety. In the end, this story is about the 346 individuals who boarded those planes, full of hope and expectation, and never returned home. Their faces, their stories, are the true measure of this tragedy. The technical reports, corporate apologies, and regulatory reforms, while necessary, can never truly mend the void left by their loss. As the engines of the 737 MAX continue to turn, carrying new passengers into the sky, it is imperative that we remember the names and the lives of those who paid the ultimate price for a fatal flaw. Their legacy demands perpetual vigilance.